Good morning, my name is Lee Mallon and this is ML.Run Academy. Today's episode is a bit different because today we're not talking about a product or service in the AI space. We are actually going to talk about a concept, and a concept that's very near and dear to us at ML.Run, which is employee engagement. Now, bear with me, it is interesting and fun, trust me. We believe that actually the world's going to change dramatically in the next few years because obviously we've seen all these AI tools explode over the last 12 months. But actually the biggest breakthrough has been in the natural language understanding. We are in a position now where people can communicate with technology rather than with IT who can communicate with technology through code. And that is going to take a massive leap forward in how we work and what we do. But let's go into this a bit more. So at ML.Run we have a thesis, and our thesis is exactly this. Every company in the near future is going to have a digital twin, a digital brain of knowledge that includes Sally's holiday request to the P&L of the business to the 12-week content plan for social media about potatoes. All that information is going to be encapsulated within this digital brain, no different to how it's encapsulated currently in 25 different tools spread across the internet. The key differentiator here is that these things in this digital brain will be accessible through natural language. I will be able to extract information I need out of them in English. Colleagues can do it in French, German, Italian, Swahili, Arabic, whatever it may be. This is the breakthrough that really is going to set apart the next iteration of businesses. And this has all come about because of the evolution of AI and natural language understanding. Now, we did a report recently and we found out that most people don't like work, surprisingly. And it's not that they don't like the business, it's not that they don't like their role, it's that they don't like all the stuff they have to do around their role. The stuff like meeting notes, holiday request forms, reports, health and safety training, like all of the stuff. It basically takes away at least 50% of their time from actually doing the job they're being paid to do. So you kind of have to ask yourself, like, how do you improve this? How do you get around this? And we kind of like evaluate and say, like, but what is the problem? And the problem is that you do have a percentage of people who do care, maybe even the majority of people who care, but they're just not equipped to drive the organization forward and also their own role if they don't understand technology and AI in the world that we live today. And you cannot just simply upskill people and train them in the concepts of technology because AI is changing all this. It's making everything accessible through natural language. So you don't need to necessarily learn to code, but you need to understand that AI can write code for you. So the solution very much we found is that businesses have to adapt and they have to train and go, people who care about our problem, as in solving the entity, the reason why the business exists, the team we have that actually want to drive that forward, how can we enhance their abilities with AI technology? How can we upskill them, but also how can we show them what is possible with AI, and then we can just let them kind of get on with it. And that is the reality of all this stuff. And when you have this kind of new era of thinking, every employee becomes a developer, not because they can learn to code, not because they'll need to code, but because we're moving from a world where IT is the bottleneck to get technology in the hands of individuals. Every employee will soon be able to instruct technology to do what they want to do rather than having to instruct IT to do what they want to do. Because at the moment, this is how it looks. If you're in IT, like, I feel for you, like you've got so much stuff to do, but people are coming to you with things like, how do I get these data out of this spreadsheet? How do I get this stuff out of a document? IT is overloaded. So now they'll just pass it through to procurement. Procurement go out to vendors. They find a solution that potentially will extract that information for you. And basically 6 months will go by and then eventually you'll get a login to some Oracle system where you have to upload the documents that you've just been working on and to extract this key value. Well, actually you did it already over the space of 4 weekends in the meantime. Now, this is how, and this is the unfortunate reality of how a lot of these companies work today. There is though hope, because in this era of AI and machine learning and natural language understanding, we can do it in 6 seconds. And the reason we can do this is because of this concept called a digital doppelganger, which I'll come to in a few slides. But imagine you can ask a digital entity, a digital twin of you. You can ask it and say, like, give me the answer to this question. How do I extract this key data out of this spreadsheet? And it can return back to you, as it does in this case, the Excel formula for you to do so. Now, maybe you're not strong on Excel and actually you can code a bit, but it will know that, so it will return back to you a snippet of code. Maybe your coding language is Python, not JavaScript, so it will turn you back Python. You don't have to ask it, it understands these preferences, and this is what is going to happen for employees. And all this stuff is going to happen within seconds, not months and months. Of course, there's situations where you need big systems such as Oracle and Microsoft, etc. But there is a lot, and I mean a lot of problems that can be solved with an Excel formula. So you kind of have to ask yourself, in this world where AI can drive things forward, if you're an employee in an organization, what stuff would you just get done quickly? So now there's kind of a quick overview. I want to kind of break down some of these terminologies that I've thrown around, like doppelganger, knowledge, brains, etc., etc. So the first up is this digital organization brain. So an organizational digital twin is basically a collection of what we're defining as digital doppelgangers. A digital doppelganger, however, is a model of knowledge. Of course, it could be a large language model similar to what you'll have seen potentially with things like ChatGPT. It could be more of a statistical model where it just knows it performs the same request over and over again and will give you a result back within the 99th percentile. At the end of the day, the doppelganger is there to represent some knowledge. So when you say, I want to find out about money laundering regulation for personal loans, it knows that. It has extracted that information from links, documents, videos, images, diagrams, preferences, whatever has been sent to it, it has basically created a model of knowledge inside of itself around this topic. And it can answer any question related to it. That is a doppelganger. And that doppelganger will sit within that regulatory framework. And then you have a situation whereby instead of you going to ask James in legal about that particular thing, you can ask the doppelganger for regulatory that James actually educated and trained, so you know it's all up to date. And also you can ask it at this information at 10, 11 p.m. when James is asleep. Now, if you have an organization that works this way and you have this for regulatory things, you can have it for anything. You can have it for the marketing plan for the business, for the employee handbook. If you've got any questions around how your holiday pay works, you can have it around the brand guidelines. I've got this image, but I want to run it through here. Can you either tweak this or can you tell me what's needed? Maybe more blue, maybe less red, whatever it could be. This is the digital brain that can be represented within an organization, and it is very, very powerful. Now, if we think of the organization as now having this digital brain of knowledge, and we have lots of these spread across the organization, that's great. And it's not too dissimilar to what we have now, but now it's spread across 20, 30, 40, 50 different systems, and we can't access it through natural language. But imagine if you could, as described, you could talk to the doppelgangers, you can get this information out, but then the information can come out in a way that is specific to you. And this is where we kind of turn data into knowledge. So instead of having files upon files everywhere, the doppelgangers create a dynamic model. We have this entity of knowledge. And this is quite a hard concept I'm even finding to explain, which is, imagine in the future where you don't write a report to determine a rule or guidance, you create a model. And then it's down to the user to extract the knowledge from that model in a format that will best suit it and tailored to them. Now this is quite, in my opinion, is the game changer. And we're going to kind of coin this term as dynamic knowledge rendering. And what this means is that when you ask a question, information can be returned back to you in a format that best suits your needs at that point in time. So let's go through an example. So I potentially say I want to find out about money laundering regulation for personal loans. I'm going to ask my doppelganger. So my doppelganger is a model that understands me. It understands my likes, my dislikes, my preferences. It knows that I'm good at Excel. It knows I'm bad at Photoshop. It knows I like to listen to things in the morning. It knows that if anything's long form, I want to listen to it with music in the background. If it's a report, I want bullet points. I don't want paragraphs. And if it has to be paragraphs, I want it in a poem. This is what the doppelganger knows about me. It basically acts as my digital twin. It acts as my agent. It does stuff on my behalf. So when I ask it for money laundering regulation on personal loans, it goes off and looks for me. So it goes off to the internal organization or potentially the outside world and says, how do I find this out? So it'll go and ask the regulatory doppelganger. The regulatory doppelganger go, cool, I've got the information. How do you want it? And this is where it gets quite interesting, because then the doppelganger goes, well, actually, Lee likes to listen to this type of stuff in the voice of Elvis in the morning. So it's going to ask the regulatory doppelganger for this, and the regulatory doppelganger is going to say, I can't do a voice of Elvis, but I can give you the information in more of a textual way, but the language is going to be more suited for audio. And then off the back of that, the doppelganger is going to take that and it's going to go, okay, great, I've now got this script. I now need to go and get the voice of Elvis. So it's going to go to the IT doppelganger. And that IT doppelganger is going to talk to a voice API in the voice of Elvis. And it's going to pass the script all the way through this chain of events. And the IT doppelganger is going to return back to your doppelganger the audio file. And then your doppelganger is going to go, oh, cool, I've got this audio file of this scripted narrative in Elvis's voice for money laundering regulation on personal loans. But I know Lee likes to listen on Spotify, and Lee likes to listen to this stuff in the morning. So actually, I'm now going to upload this to an RSS feed, and I'm going to hook his Spotify app to the RSS feed, and I'm going to alert him that this will happen at 7 a.m. because then he'll see it, and then he'll wake up and he'll listen to it. This sounds slightly dystopian, but this is how we believe knowledge rendering is going to happen in the future. And it's going to be this fluid and smooth. Now, and also from here, you've got to remember, like from my employee point of view, all I've done is said, you know, tell me about money laundering regulation on personal loans. All this stuff has happened behind the scenes, and I've just got a notification a day later on my Spotify app with that audio. And if we can do this, we kind of move from organization 1.0, which is where we have like people, and sometimes talking to machines and systems. And we move to more of a system where we talk to models. Like people are talking to models, models are talking to doppelgangers, models are representing stuff, and it's all being kind of interconnected between the two. And more importantly, humans can start to focus on the things humans are really good at. And then we can kind of remove the humans, not from like a Terminator point of view, but from a bit where this stuff can then start acting on its own. It can start going to do things for us. You know, if you have a timesheet and you always do the same hours, you shouldn't have to fill in the timesheet. Let your bot fill in the timesheet for you. This is the future of how business will operate and how employees can get around and do things more productively and potentially fall back in love with the job that they have. My name is Lee Mullen. This is ML.Run Academy. If you have any questions or thoughts on this video today, we're going to release a few more of these over the next few months, but I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you very much.